All right, hello everybody. We are going to go ahead and get started today. So go ahead and go to joinpd.com. There's your code. And remember, once you log on, it's going to tell you to go to socrative.com. Student login. Room name is Radnich Bio. And as your name, do your last name, comma, first name. And I'm the only one that sees it. So go ahead and go to joinpd.com and go ahead and type in that code. And we will get started shortly, but when that first Socrative question comes up, go ahead and feel free to answer. We are going to do last week's questions and then a few other ones on top of that. And while we're waiting today, go ahead and go in the chat. Tell me where you're at right now. Are you at home? Are you at maybe a library? And how hot is it where you're at right now? For those of you in Arizona, isn't the fall weather like kind of getting really nice? I know, isn't it awesome? I think the high today was like 98. Oh yeah, you're at home right now and it's 98. I am a big hiker, so I am getting so ready for it to not be hot. It is still really hot, but at least it's not supposed to be 100, like hit over 100 now for a couple weeks. Oh, just where are you? If you're at home or maybe you're sitting on your couch, you're gonna Netflix after this. 82, where are you? I want to be where it's 82. Oh yeah, Payson, that makes sense. So go ahead, guys. Remember, Socrative.com, student login, room name is Radnich Bio. We're going to do last week questions and a few more, so we'll go through them pretty quickly and get going. Yeah, homework isn't always super fun, but we have to do it. All right, just waiting for a few more of you to get on to Socrative.com. But we are going to move a little quickly through these ones just because we need to get going. Oops, did not want to do that. There we go, Socrative.com. We had this question last week. So why do you think biologists want to classify organisms? And 100% of you got it right. It's to show how the organisms are related to each other. Very good. We'll go ahead and go on to the next one. And guys, you can jump in anytime. So even if you didn't answer question one, you can still jump in for any of the questions. So what do biologists use to help classify organisms? So we use a dichotomous key, which is that kind of weird looking tree thing. And you guys are going to be able to create your own in my live lesson today. I did the really kind of interesting thing. So it's Socrative.com. and then go type into, or it as like a thing where it says student login. And then it will ask you for a room name and you type in Radnich Bio. So this is separate from our Join PD. You're going to a separate little tab and then do your last name, comma, first name. We do this every week. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we'll be pretty good. Okay, our next question. What separates birds from the rest of the organisms? And I believe you can click on that picture and it makes it bigger too. You guys are doing awesome. 100% of you said that it is feathers. Very, very good. Okay, same key, same dichotomous key. What is the major difference between a fish and an amphibian? Also, while you guys are answering, I just want to tell you guys that I really look forward to this every week. Like, I love making these little presentations for you and doing them. I was telling my coworkers how fun it is. All right. So when we look at fish and amphibians, the main thing that is separating them is amphibians don't have gills as adults, but fish do have gills as adults. So this one's a little tougher. We barely talked about this last live lesson, so I wanted to go over it again. What is the term used to describe how we classify animals? I talked about it at the very, very end. I showed you guys that pyramid, and we looked at different levels. Like I said, we barely talked about it, so I definitely wanted to hit this term again. This is exactly why we do this. And don't worry if you get it wrong, guys. It's not like a test grade. It's supposed to be just low stress, see how we're doing. So the correct answer was actually B, taxonomy is the term used. And we're going to get into a little bit more about taxonomy today, so that's why I wanted to talk about it. So when you look at different groups of organisms and they're classified, a lot of times we call it a taxa. So you've been doing a ton of observations. Which of the following would be like a good observation for these cute lions? Which of the following would be a cute one? Or a cute. I'm saying it's a cute lion. Which would be a good observation? Awesome. Most of you guys said that it has large, sharp teeth. That would be a really good observation because its big is super general. It can sleep is super general. And I didn't even try to be really specific in saying that it has children. Maybe you could have said this is obviously a female lion because it has cubs around it. That would be like a more specific observation. So here's that classification pyramid that I barely showed you guys at the end. So if you weren't in it last week, don't stress about it. But I want you to look at this pyramid here. And what do you think would be the most specific level for classifying an organism? You guys are doing awesome on this one. All right, so go ahead and submit your guess. But pretty much all of you did said species, and species is the most specific. A species was at the very top, and it was the littlest section. Kingdom is the most general, and then species would be the most specific. All right, so that's all we're doing on Socrative. So if you would, you can click out of Socrative. We'll be done with it for the day. Go ahead and focus on our presentation screen. So the first thing I wanted to do, and I have not done this before, so bear with me if it doesn't work. I know Mr. Navarro does this, but I wanted us to watch a really short video together on this guy here. That's an artist rendition of him. His name is Carl Linnaeus, and hopefully it works. We'll see. If I go in, maybe? No? Okay. We'll see if the sound plays for us. No, not working. I'll have to figure that out. Can you guys hear the video when I'm playing it? Yes? Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Carl Linnaeus was born in the southern Swedish province of Småland in 1707 and is considered to be one of the most influential scientists of his time. His life's work was to develop and refine a way to group life on Earth, or to classify it. So straightforward was his system, it is still used by scientists and understood by people across the world today. His father, Niels Ingmarsson Linnaeus, was both an avid gardener and a Lutheran pastor, and Carl showed a deep love of plants and a fascination with their names from a very early age. While studying medicine at both the universities of Lund and the University of Uppsala in Sweden, he devoted a large amount of his time to the study of plants, and in 1732 he mounted a botanical expedition to Lapland. Over 5 months, he traveled some 3,000 miles, collecting biological specimens and taking notes. In 1734, he mounted another expedition to central Sweden.
He was an empiricist. He didn't believe things that he hadn't seen with his own eyes. He was very reluctant to take on trust something that somebody had written about.
In 1735, Linnaeus moved to the Netherlands, and it was in that same year that he published his most well-known work, Systema Naturae, or the System of Nature. In it, he outlined a new system for the naming of all living things.
There are two main things that Carl Linnaeus tends to be known for. The one is as far as his classification systems, which at the time were really rather revolutionary, particularly in the plant kingdom, rather less so amongst the animals. And the second thing is his introduction of a new naming system using a genus name and a species name, the so-called binomial system. Now, of the two, it's the latter, it's the naming system that is his primary legacy.
This item is the first edition of Systema Naturae, the one where Linnaeus actually outlines his sexual system for classifying plants, basically by the number of stamens and the arrangement of the reproductive organs. So this is the first time it's appeared in print, and so that's why it's important. You can see it's very large, and I tend to explain it as being the 18th century version of an Excel spreadsheet, because you can see it's very table-like. By the time the 10th edition appeared in 1758, this had shrunk from this really large size to a much more sort of portable thing. But it had gone from only 11 pages to 2 fat volumes.
Returning to Sweden in 1738, he practiced medicine, specializing in the treatment of syphilis, and lectured in Stockholm before being awarded a professorship at Uppsala University in 1741. Throughout his life, Linnaeus showed an interest in nature and the systems which govern it. He wrote not just about classification, but also about ecology, how organisms interact with their environment. He explored food chains and even defined the concept of race, dividing humans into 4 groups: Americanus, Asiaticus, Africanus, and Europeanus. Forced to retire from teaching in 1774 by a stroke, Linnaeus suffered a further stroke and eventually died in 1778. Linnaeus was driven by a lust for all nature, and the desire to understand and classify it. His legacy remains and is used by the many dedicated scientists today who are driven by that same desire.
All right, so that was Carl Linnaeus. And I want you to kind of think about this for a second. What did you find interesting about this video? And then we still use this classification today. And I want you to think about why that is. And you guys just saw, this was the 1700s that he was doing this. And we still use this today. So think about, why do you think that is? All right, good job, guys. Take another minute. See a lot of you guys still typing. So I love Sadie put that that he had to see something with his own eyes. I think that's really cool. Or I'm sorry, no, Kaylin said that. Sadie said that it's interesting how he took plants and he had such a big passion to study them. And yeah, I think it is too. Yeah, 11 pages to 2 volumes. Yes, that is also crazy. And a lot of you guys are putting that it's a good way to actually classify animals. And that old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And that's what it is. I mean, we're using different things to classify animals, whether it be observations or even now DNA data. So it's really cool that we've taken something from the 1700s and we've just been able to still like really add onto it, which is pretty cool. All right, we're gonna move on. This is something really interesting that I haven't done before. So I believe you can drag these boxes to where they should be on the tree. And I haven't done it, but I thought we would try it and see if it works. So I put that the red square would equal a dog, and the orange square will equal a parrot. The blue will be a fish, and the purple will be a turtle. See, even teachers try new stuff. Never done a drag and drop one before, and I just came up with this and thought it would be kind of cool. So guys, just a hint, the animals should be on the very end of the line. Most of you guys are getting there, but there should be 4 animals, 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the very end. All right, good job. Let's take about 15 more seconds. The fact that it's 2:50 already is nuts. It's going by so fast. All right, so you guys did a really, really good job. I can see the boxes that you guys all dragged. So the top box next to the mammal should be the dog. The dog is everybody's part of Kingdom Animalia, and the dog walks on 4 legs, and the dog is a mammal, so he goes at the top. Below him would be the turtle, because the turtle is a reptile, but it still walks on 4 legs, and it's still part of Kingdom Animalia. Next, now we don't have 4 legs. So it has gills. That's going to be the blue square, which is the fish. And then has wings would be the orange square, because that's the parrot. So your boxes should be red, purple, blue, and then orange at the bottom. And it looks like a lot of you guys got that. So awesome job. So this is just a big tree that I wanted to show you guys of how we kind of classify different animals, because I've been talking about this Kingdom Animalia, and basically we have 3 huge domains. We have bacteria, archaea, and eukaryota, and we are in the eukaryota tree, obviously, because we are eukaryotes. And down there you can see it has animals. So that would be our kingdom. We are in Kingdom Animalia. And then it kind of goes on through there. But I just wanted to show you guys that when we first start classifying organisms, we basically can just start to narrow it down, just like you did on your tree. And I also thought it'd be really cool to talk about archaea or archaea. They are like kind of like bacteria, but kind of like eukaryotic cells. They're in the middle. And it was only like 50 years ago that they were classified in their own domain. So when you start to classify these animals that you guys are doing, kind of think about this. Are they an animal? Are they a plant? What type of domain are they in? So kind of think about that, and think about Linnaeus as you guys are doing that. Okay, so we're going to watch one more really short video, and it's about different trophic levels and food chains, and then that's going to give you guys some more information on basically how to classify these animals that you guys are working on right now. So once again, just super short.
In the first video on ecology terminology, we looked at the following terms. In this video, we are going to look at a food chain and the different roles within it. A food chain shows the sequence of organisms in a habitat that are dependent on the one before as a source of food. In our woodland, one food chain would be grass at the bottom, which is eaten by the rabbits, which are then eaten by the foxes. The arrows represent the energy flow through the chain, and there are lots of other food chains within the woodland, such as this one. A food web shows all of the interconnected food chains in an ecosystem and are much more complex. In every food chain, there are trophic levels. All organisms in a particular trophic level transfer the same amount of energy away from the producers, or base of the food chain. So in our woodland, we have energy transferred from grass to crickets to frogs, and from grass to caterpillars to blackbirds. The caterpillar and the cricket are at the same trophic level, just as the frog and the blackbird are also at the same trophic level. At the base of the food chain are producers. Producers are autotrophs. This means that they are able to manufacture their own food, just like how plants do this by photosynthesis. Then they are primary consumers. These are the second organisms in the food chain, in the second trophic levels. These consume producers and are nearly all herbivores. They only feed on plants. Then there are secondary consumers. These are either carnivores, so they only feed on other animals, or like the mouse, they could be omnivores. They eat a variety of plants and animals. Most humans are omnivores. We eat meat, but we also eat vegetables and grains. Or they can just be insectivores, like the ladybird and frog, which only feed on insects, worms, and other invertebrates. So there we have a food web, food chains, trophic levels, producers, consumers, herbivores, carnivores, omnivores, insectivores, and so the final piece of the puzzle are decomposers. Decomposers break down dead plants and animals and waste and return nutrients back to the soil. Decomposers are very important for an ecosystem. If they weren't there, the plants would not get essential nutrients, and dead matter and waste would pile up. Many kinds of decomposers are microscopic, meaning you need a microscope to see them. Like bacteria, others, like fungi, can be seen with the naked eye. So there is our key ecology terminology, which you will come across in more detail in future videos.
All right. So that was a whole lot of information in a very, very short video. So let's kind of talk about this. So here is 3 different food chains. And I want you to use these terms right here. Tell me which organisms would be consumers, producers, what would be carnivores, and what would be herbivores? And then we'll talk about it. But this is kind of important terminology that we can use when classifying and observing those animals you guys are doing right now in the class. Nice, you guys are getting it. So for the most part, we're getting it. We do have a little bit of confusion on some terms, so that's perfect because then we'll talk about this. So number 1 says, what organisms would be producers? To be a producer means that you actually make your own food. And the only things that can make their own food are like photosynthetic algae and plants. So grass and the leaves are going to be producers because they produce their own food. And then which organisms would be carnivores? A carnivore is something that only is going to eat meat. So we would say definitely that the owl, the hawk would be carnivores. And even though the blue jay and the snake are eating bugs, bugs are still considered to be meat. So we would say that they are carnivores too. I know the video said insectivores, but that can kind of be wrapped up into one. And then which organisms would be herbivores? So an herbivore is an animal that only eats plants. So in these food chains, it's going to be the rabbit, the grasshopper, and the caterpillar because they're all eating just the plants. So that's that. And I would really like if you guys would use some of these terms now when you're finishing up your observations. Is it a producer? Is it a consumer? Does it eat meat? Is it a carnivore? Is it an herbivore? Is it an omnivore? omnivores actually eat both plants and animals. And, it's kind of interesting to think about. So before we wrap up, I wanted to tell you guys a few things about your assignments that you're doing, because I was talking to Mr. Navarro. So in Antarctica, you'll notice that there's a couple pictures missing. Don't worry, they're going to fix that. So just, you're fine. Don't think it's just you. In the Great Barrier Reef, there's a few dots that you try to click on and it might not take you to anything. It might not work. All you have to do is kind of hover below it and it will eventually take you to one. It's just that the composition of it's a little bit off, the configuration's a little bit off. So if you kind of hover below it, you should find it. And if you did your classification too early and you didn't get enough points, you can restart the entire lesson by, there's like 3 lines in the upper right hand corner, and if you click on that, it gives you an option to restart the whole lesson. So you'll just go back into the biomes. But don't stress if you make a mistake or anything. You can just email me and I will help you as best as I can. But do know that there's just, a few glitches here and there, which is normal in one of these big programs. And then the last thing, I know that, was it, Billy, was it you that wanted to talk about running? The one that's graded is your final big classification at the end. It's worth 1,000 points. So you're basically going through all of the biomes, and as you are entering in your observations and everything, it's taking that score and basically putting it into that big final project. So that's what it is. So you're finishing biomes, each week. I think this week what you guys had to do, Antarctica and the Great Barrier Reef. And then at the end, it will talk about that final big project at the end. Okay, Billy, if you want to unmute yourself and maybe talk.
Hi. So I'm running for just ASU kind of president for the student government. And I really would like your vote. You could read my bio on the little announcement thing, when you first go into Canvas, you can see it at the top. And yeah.
Okay, and that's how they vote too, is through that announcement?
On homeroom on Tuesday, you should be able, it will go out where everybody can vote. Is an official voting thing.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing so much. Did anybody have anything else that they needed to talk about real quick?
Thank you.
Okay, so just message me in Canvas if you guys need anything, or you can text me, and I will be at work all day tomorrow, so I'll be able to get back to you pretty quickly. And I hope everybody has a fantastic weekend. Enjoy the semi-nice weather that we're starting to get. And I will see you guys all next week. Have a good one.